Hey everyone, welcome back to Creator Crypto. I'm your host Matt. Thanks for joining today. So last week we started talking about regulation, and specifically we spoke about how decentralization, not only of the crypto networks themselves, but also of the organizations doing the development, represent a real paradigm shift for regulators, lawmakers, and law enforcement alike. This week, I initially was going to start going into the weeds a little bit more and talk specifically about Gary Gensler and the SEC and things that he's been signaling. But I saw a piece of news that I think is a little bit more interesting. And I think it does two things. One is it helps to illustrate some of the very real challenges that law enforcement is going to face. And then two, some of the practical solutions that will be needed in order to address these challenges. But before we jump into that, remember, if you like the video, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments section. All right, so the outcome that I hope for, the regulatory outcome, is a framework that is a light touch, it's clear, it's unambiguous, it's transparent, and it helps to maintain a level playing field for industry participants. This will really help to spur innovation, and it will help to increase adoption. In order to achieve that, governments are going to need to feel confident in their ability to enforce the laws. There's no point in writing laws that don't have any teeth and that can't be enforced. So with all of that in mind, the piece of news that I happened to stumble upon the other day was that Palantir Technologies is coming out with a dedicated cryptocurrency platform. Okay, so who is Palantir Technologies? Well, reading from their website, we build software that empowers organizations to effectively integrate their data, decisions, and operations. In a nutshell, what Palantir does is provide a really powerful data layer that allows you to stitch together data from disparate data sources, allowing for tremendous insight. In a modern organizational setting, this is tremendously powerful, and it's an essential tool needed to solve complex problems. Their products are widely used already in the U.S. intelligence space, as well as the Department of Defense. And since going public a couple years back, they've been rapidly increasing their commercial presence in the fintech, financial services, and banking sectors as well. So what does any of this have to do with regulation? Well, I want to draw your attention to over here, and let me get there. Kind of 4 boxes that they put down here. And if you focus on the left 2 boxes, the anti-money laundering and the fraud detection, I believe that this capability will enable legacy players to engage with cryptocurrencies in a compliant way. So they'll be able to meet their anti-money laundering and know your customer obligations in a compliant way, which today I believe they struggle with. They don't know how to do that, which is holding them back and keeping them from participating. And we'll focus on these 2 boxes today. The right 2 are also important, but we'll go over those in a separate video. But these, I believe, are the future. As things become increasingly decentralized, they will allow, one, those future organizations to develop their solutions in a compliant way, and it will also allow law enforcement to do the analysis and do the data mining that they're going to need to be able to do in order to prevent financial crimes and to perform their functions as a law enforcement agency. The reason that this is important is that the pseudo-anonymity that blockchains and public ledger systems allow for really give law enforcement headaches and heartburn when it comes to how do we know who we're dealing with, how can we really monitor for financial crimes like we're accustomed to. We're not going to have that level of data. Blockchains don't contain this identifying information that today law enforcement can go to a bank, get a warrant, and get a data dump. It contains a lot of rich data. They're going to need to become more clever. They're going to need to develop more powerful tools that will allow them to mine this data and make meaningful sense of it. And that's right in the wheelhouse of a company like Palantir. This is a big deal because Palantir is already in the government ecosystem. They work with many of these agencies already, and they're a known commodity. If they can work hand in hand with rule makers and give them confidence to monitor for illicit activity and maintain order in the marketplace, then we might just be able to land on that light touch framework that would be so beneficial. In the near term, Palantir can make legacy companies feel much more comfortable when dealing with cryptocurrencies, these new lending products that are coming out, and decentralized protocols in general. This would be massively beneficial to the entire crypto space because now we have major players that are able to engage in a compliant way and under existing laws. But in the long term, Palantir could provide law enforcement officials with the much needed tool set to combat financial crimes in an increasingly decentralized world. All right, before we wrap up, and for the sake of transparency, I just wanted to make clear that I am a long-term investor in Palantir. I believe that the company is really good at what they do and that they're uniquely positioned. They're a core holding of mine in my portfolio. So that's it, everybody. That's it for this week's video. I hope it was insightful, and I hope to see you again next week. Until then.